A resilient mind that understands and acts according to its principles can never be underestimated or belittled. When Seneca asserted that a wise person does not get hurt, his friend Serenus questioned, "But what if someone tries to disrespect or cause harm to that person?" Seneca replied, "Yes, they can and will try, but they won't succeed in reaching her." He explained that the wise person is far removed from those attempting harm, so any attack against her would lack the power to cause damage. On the contrary, they would struggle even to get close. He likened this to an army of archers shooting arrows trying to reach the gods. Even though the effort is immense in shooting arrows skyward, they can never hit the heavens. In fact, the arrows may go out of sight, but they always end up falling back to the ground. Even as Seneca urges us to be strong, to cultivate our inner strength, seeking invincibility in the face of others' malice and envy, Serenus thinks it would be better if no one had the intention of causing harm or wanted to do bad things to others in the first place. He says, "Think about it. If everyone stopped saying bad things to each other, if everyone stopped behaving wrongly towards each other, wouldn't the world be much better?" But Seneca disagrees. He says, "You're wishing for everyone to be nice, but that's not possible," highlighting how unrealistic it is to believe in a world without malice where no one offends anyone. Seneca was certain that this was nearly impossible over 2,000 years ago. However, the problem with Serenus's desire is that the actions of other people are beyond our control. If, for example, we want to eradicate negative opinions and actions from all people, we will be frustrated, wasting our energy on what we cannot control. There will always be someone foolish, envious, and malicious, trying to harm you in some way. If we think about our world today, especially after isolation, many of us have lost patience for simple everyday things and can easily explode at someone. Similarly, many people have become more sensitive, as if everything said somehow deeply offends or hurts someone. While the idea of a harmless world may be genuinely good, the Stoic Seneca realized that it is probably unrealistic. People will always speak and do bad things, especially on the internet, where individuals often feel more liberated to speak their minds, act wrongly, and many do not consider whether they will offend or harm someone. We live in a country with freedom of expression, and each of us can decide whether to use that freedom for good or for ill. Therefore, if we do not want to be offended, trying to silence those who offend us probably won't work. It's like trying to fill a leaking bucket. No matter how much water you pour in, it will always escape. The same happens when we try to control the behavior of others. No matter how much energy we put into it, it simply doesn't work. So, if we don't want to be hurt, it's not about trying to make others stop saying bad things. The best armor is learning not to care so much about what others say. Therefore, Seneca repeatedly emphasizes in his work that the key to not being offended, to not feeling defeated by the words or actions of others, lies within ourselves. So it's not about defeating those who offend us or expecting never to be offended or harmed. It's about being invincible to these things, which is within our reach according to the Stoics. The question is, how can we achieve that? In this video, we will talk about Seneca's Stoicism, primarily concerning becoming invincible. When comparing well-known philosophers from antiquity, Emperor Marcus Aurelius is probably the most popular. His Meditations is one of the best-selling books in history and speaks directly to the reader, as Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself authentically and sincerely, not turning a blind eye to his flaws. His reflective nature, coupled with being an emperor, created a strong and clear model detailing his pursuit of living a Stoic life. The same is true for Epictetus, who was a freed slave and became one of the greatest Stoic teachers of his time. In contrast, Seneca, although a significant Stoic figure, presents a more complex model. He was a statesman, philosopher, and playwright. His various roles contributed to different areas such as literature, philosophy, and politics. Even though he held a prominent place in the Roman hierarchy, his power did not reach the triumph of Marcus Aurelius. However, he came close, as his authority over the empire was profound during the early years of Nero's reign. Lucius Annaeus Seneca, also known as Seneca the Younger, was born in Cordoba, modern-day Spain, into a distinguished lineage. His father, Seneca the Elder, was a renowned writer and rhetoric teacher, while his mother, Helvia, came from a prominent family. Seneca's education primarily focused on rhetoric, but his true passion developed in the realm of philosophy. After a successful career in Rome, he was banished to Corsica by Emperor Claudius due to accusations of adultery. During the 8 years of exile, Seneca wrote his famous Consolation to his mother, demonstrating his resilience in the face of adversity. Seneca produced a variety of writings on Stoicism. In addition to in-depth essays on anger, tranquility, and inner strength, he also penned many letters containing profound Stoic wisdom. In this video, we will focus on one of his major works, On the Firmness of the Wise, to bring the practice of this wisdom into our daily lives. As a Stoic, Seneca sought a state of undisturbability, a deep inner peace where external circumstances, or in other words, things beyond his control, would not disturb him or at the very least would minimally affect him. But from Seneca's perspective, what does it truly mean not to be disturbed? Is it akin to being an emotionless rock in the face of life's challenges? Does it mean being entirely indifferent to everything that happens to you, whether good or bad? Or pretending that nothing affects me, suppressing my emotions? In his work, On the Firmness of the Wise, Seneca intricately described how a serene and equanimous Stoic, often called wise, responds to various situations, which we will delve deeply into in this video. How does one become invincible? Seneca's views align with the Stoic philosophy of remaining calm and undisturbed in the face of the external world. Being unshaken by external circumstances, immune to insults and aggressions, is considered defining characteristics that embody mental strength according to the Stoics. However, this doesn't mean the sage is a piece of emotionless stone, observing life's events with total indifference, becoming like a dead person among the living. The Stoics, including Seneca, are not devoid of emotions, as evidenced by the letters he wrote, including the famous one to his mother. There is room to feel emotions and apply reason, which truly arouses positive feelings, a crucial part of feeling good and attaining the best state in Stoic philosophy. Contrary to common belief, being a Stoic does not imply emotional detachment or coldness. Being invincible is not about being as cold as a stone. Instead, the key lies in avoiding what the Stoics call passions. These passions are emotional responses to external circumstances that stem from irrational thoughts. They can range from anger, such as getting upset over trivial matters, to blind rage in response to an insult, for example, disappointment due to frustration, or prolonged and excessive sadness over a loss, or strong desires of lust for people and things, like vices. According to Seneca, being invincible involves the absence of these passions, resulting in an undisturbed mind. For a Stoic, a person becomes invincible when nothing in the external world can shake their inner calm, especially in the face of life's difficulties and adversities. Regarding adversity, being invincible means remaining unscathed in challenging circumstances, whether someone is insulting you, hurting you, or when you are rejected and scorned by a friend, when a relationship ends or when you are fired, or even when you take a punch to the face. But when can we speak of injury? In his essay On the Firmness of the Wise, Seneca frequently discusses injury. But what exactly does Seneca mean? When can someone be considered injured? Is it when you are physically hurt, for example, by an assault? Or is it when someone verbally insults you, and as a consequence you feel humiliated with everyone laughing at you? Or do you feel hurt when you suffer significant financial losses or when you are subjected to illnesses? This might surprise you, but according to Seneca, none of these things is an injury in itself. Injury is not in the action done to you, whether in an insult or a physical attack, but rather in how we position ourselves in relation to what happens to us. Seneca asserts that being a wise person does not mean creating such a safe and comfortable life that attempts to injure are minimized or non-existent. Some people may seem calm, but not because they create and cultivate inner strength, but simply because they don't undergo any kind of pressure. As Seneca points out, their lives are easy and devoid of difficulty. Put such a person in some difficulty they haven't learned to endure, and their undisturbability will likely disappear quickly. Without mental strength in a situation of emotional pressure, a person who claims to be calm quickly crumbles. Seneca further illustrates this. It's like placing a rich, spoiled child, born with a silver spoon in their mouth, in the shoes of ordinary people. Since their strength relied heavily on their wealth in this challenging situation, is their character strong enough to continue to flourish? What makes a sage is their inner strength, the ability not to be hurt, regardless of external circumstances. As Seneca says, "Similarly, you must know that the wise man, if no injury hurts him, is of a higher type than if nothing were offered to him, and I would call him a brave man, to whom war does not subjugate, and the violence of enemies does not alarm, nor the one who enjoys luxurious comfort amid a lazy people. I say then that such a wise and invulnerable man against any harm, no matter how many darts are thrown at him, since he cannot be pierced by any of them." Seneca. According to Seneca, a wise man is beyond suffering injuries. Whatever life throws against him, he will endure it calmly. The invulnerable is not the one who is never hit, but rather the one who is never hurt. Seneca. Once again, we cannot control whether the world will be friendly or unfriendly towards us. It is entirely beyond our control. This is a universal truth that applies to all of us. Even if you are rich, with immeasurable wealth, power comparable to a Roman emperor or influence, we cannot control all human behavior. However, we can develop the ability to become invulnerable, or at least resilient, to everything that happens to us. And how can we do that? According to Seneca, we can achieve this with patience, which means enduring adversity with a long-lasting resistance, relying on reason to overcome it. Let's consider different life situations and see how Seneca addresses them and how we could act according to his ideas. In his work, Seneca tells us about Vatinius, a man he describes as born to be ridiculed and hated. Vatinius was also a court jester, witty and intelligent, with no shame whatsoever. According to Seneca, he had more enemies than diseases, but since Vatinius didn't care about what others said about him and often made fun of himself, none of his enemies could hurt him. In a way, Vatinius was a bit like Diogenes the cynic, who was invincible in the face of his enemies because he didn't care about anyone's opinion. Since he wasn't attached to anything, he couldn't be held by anything. Nowadays, it seems common to see people feeling offended. Some make a point to express it, sharing when something deeply hurts them. However, few ask themselves why they feel so offended. Why does someone else's behavior, something we cannot control, have so much power over our feelings of indignation or discomfort? Sometimes we expect others to act according to our standards, and we end up being influenced to suppress behavior that doesn't align with our expectations. In Seneca's time, this also occurred. For example, he mentioned slaves who preferred being whipped instead of insulted, showing how much people detested being insulted. Something Seneca considered absurd and a sign of weak-mindedness, as an insult doesn't harm anyone, unlike a beating. Seneca's concern about insults is summarized in this direct and rational question: do these things happen to me deservedly or undeservedly? If deserved, it's not an insult, but a judicial sentence. If undeserved, the injustice falls on the insulter, not the insulted. Someone made a joke about my baldness, the weakness of my eyes, the thinness of my legs, my short stature. What insult is there in telling me what everyone sees? Seneca. Simplifying even further, Seneca advises that if someone says something true that you don't like, it's not an insult, it's the truth. If someone says something false, it's also not an insult. It's simply nonsense. So the one who said it has more reason to be ashamed than you. For example, John was in traffic and accidentally cut off the car behind him. Despite apologizing, the driver wanted to offend him. He began calling him bald and uttering profanities, intending to start a fight. Without a Stoic stance, John could feel deeply offended and humiliated by the insults, thinking, "This guy doesn't even know me and thinks he has the right to insult me. Who does he think he is?" But rising above the insults, John thought rationally. He indeed is bald, and the guy, even without the right, just pointed out one of his physical characteristics. As for the profanity, John knew none of it was true, as the man didn't know him, had no basis to judge his character. So he left without considering or regarding those offenses as his own. Seneca challenges us to see insults through the lens of reason, removing the emotional weight associated with them. For Seneca, the wise man is above insults. If he allows himself to be affected by them, he becomes instantly vulnerable. He won't feel secure anywhere around people because their words can cause him to emotionally crumble. Insults become highly damaging, and words are like darts piercing his body. His inner tranquility depends on the whims of others, and inevitably, we come across foolish people. Isolating oneself, distancing from everyone to avoid harm or feelings of rejection is not evidence that we have progressed and built our inner strength. It merely indicates that we are escaping what we haven't yet learned how to navigate. Seneca's philosophy extends beyond insults. Being invincible to hurtful comments is just the beginning of the quest to remain undisturbed. Seneca speaks about our capacity to endure suffering, including physical pain, stating, "The ability to endure pain is powerful. Thus, physical harm will not cause distress, and the expectation of it will not bring anxiety." Remaining without passion, unshaken by pain or the prospect of it, with such inner strength, the wise man enjoys a significant advantage. People cannot use physical harm as a means of manipulation or make him do things against his will. Seneca. Epictetus later beautifully formulated this idea in one of his lectures, stating that someone could chain him up and take his leg, but not even Zeus could touch his free will. Seneca and Epictetus both lived in a time when slavery and physical punishments were considered normal. Therefore, the concept of inner strength was exemplified even in physical punishments. Thankfully, today, we are no longer subjected to such physical tortures. However, we can use this example to face difficult challenges and push ourselves. When we strive to learn and apply something new, we are mentally assaulted with the pain and mental suffering of abandoning old habits. When we start exercising and feel the physical pain, the temptation to quit is immense. None of these damages, whether mental or physical, can manipulate us. Seneca's invincibility is not limited to verbal or physical harm. For the Stoics, a true sage remains steadfast in the face of any misfortune. He who says that a wise man can endure this and cannot endure that, and confines his magnanimity within certain limits, wrongly restricts his magnanimity. For fortune conquers, unless magnanimity is wholly unconquered. Seneca does not attribute to the wise the hardness of stone or iron. The wise person feels misfortunes such as losing loved ones, but is aware of their resilience. They may suffer and feel the loss, but they do not bury themselves in sadness. They will always rise above it, seeking to heal their wounds. In essence, Seneca's philosophy encourages the development of resilience through patience, facing adversities head-on, and relying on reason to confront life's challenges. The wise person, according to Seneca, becomes invulnerable by cultivating inner strength and remaining undisturbed by external circumstances, truly embodying the anatomy of invincibility. Seneca's philosophy of steadfastness delves deeply into the art of remaining undisturbed in the face of adversity. While insults may serve as the beginning of the Stoic journey, the true test lies in maintaining composure when confronted with significant challenges. This Stoic resilience grants the wise individual a significant advantage. Facing adversity with unwavering resilience and inner strength becomes a hallmark of the Stoic mindset. Seneca's teachings encourage us to develop the practice and patience necessary to confront life's challenges without succumbing to mental wounds. The wise person, according to Seneca, remains steadfast against all forms of misfortune, embodying the art of remaining undisturbed in the face of life's unpredictable twists. Seneca's philosophy on being invincible, as described in his teachings, offers a compelling perspective on resilience and inner strength. Reflecting on Seneca's philosophy leads us to consider our own moments of unyielding strength and resilience. Have you ever faced situations similar to those Seneca describes? Moments when you confronted challenges with inner courage and emerged relentless? Feel free to share your thoughts and experiences in the comment section. Thanks for watching.